A quick review. What is step number one? Step number one is to revisit your why. What is it that caused you to say yes? Step two is to revisit your initial order. Did it create a promotion line? Step three is to consider what your auto ship looks like. Is that the way you want your business to duplicate? And to recognize that it is duplicating today based upon what your business, based upon the decisions you've made at steps 1, 2, and 3. Step 4. To acquire the initial toolkit if you have not, and to click on yes for subscription. That paves the way for step 5. It is when you grow you that you begin to grow your business. And as it stated in step 5, this is a business of attraction rather than promotion, and that then finds its way directly into step 6. Because, of course, our candidate list is as big as the world. It is as big as the world. It's when we present something that others would seek to have, when we evidence a quality of life. And by the way, that quality of life need not be financial. It's peace, it's joy, it's contentment. Daily disciplines done daily create something that is attractive to others. People so frequently come to me and they want me to teach them how to make more money. It's not uncommon for me to say, well, if in our time together you learn how to make more money and that's all, it was certainly a waste of my time, whether or not it was a waste of yours. It's if we together discover new ways to be more happy more of the time, irrespective of what our current financial circumstance is, that then is an amazing thing. Well, at step 6, we learn how to grow our candidate list so that it stays in front of us in terms of quantity and quality. I would here strongly advise you to review the 1 Minute Manager. I think back in that book, by the way, by Ken Blanchard. For me, my reading retention is not particularly good, and so I listen to audiobooks over and over and over. I've listened to that one so very many times. There are a few pivotal moments in my career. One pivotal moment was about the 15th time that I listened to the 1 Minute Manager, and about that 15th time, I finally heard what was being said: catch others doing something right. Now, Blanchard was talking about in a management capacity, walking through the office and seeing people doing something well and telling them they were doing a good job, instead of walking through the office and seeing people underperforming and criticizing them for that poor performance. He stated that so much greater would be the outcome if we caught people doing something well. I've extended that principle to life generally because we don't manage people. That's not what it is. Over the course of these last years, my entire worldview has been changed by the simple thought of catching others doing something right and then affirming them for it. People know when flattery is involved. Flattery doesn't feel good. Flattery leaves one with a little bit of a yucko feeling. A sincere compliment is always well received and embraced. When I observe someone doing something well and I affirm them for it, that creates an extension to my candidate list. That's the beginning point of a new relationship developing, and the heart is always opened by a sincere compliment. So many years ago, I recall that I met a person in a Nordstrom store who sold me a suit. Countless are the times that I bought clothes from others. This particular gentleman's name was Tom. And after the experience, I said, Tom, you're extraordinary. Truly extraordinary, and you are underemployed. I congratulate you for your good work, and I want you to know that I believe that those skills of yours will one day be put to a higher and better use. I thank you for that service. Can I have your business card in case we ever have a chance to interact again? See, at that moment, I had paved the way. That was now a new person. By the way, I complimented him because he deserved the compliment. I didn't do it to add him to my candidate list. I complimented him because he deserved the compliment, because he had provided extraordinary service. And that also paved the way for him to be added to my candidate list. When next I was in that same town, it happened to be Tampa, Florida, I had stored in my memory jogger the fact that Tom at Nordstrom's had done a remarkable job, and I popped by again, this time with my preferred preliminary information device. It was an audio tool at that point in time. It was called Your First Look. Surprise, surprise. We have an audio tool today called Your First Look. I think it's an extraordinary way for one to see the business for the very first time. There's a first look pack for those that are on your warm candidate list, a first look pack that contains significant information that is designed specifically to be delivered, left overnight, and picked back up. There's a whole logic and a rationale to that. And then there are those bumps that I call them, those bumps, those people that we bump into. There must also be that less significant piece of information designed simply to open one's eyes to the possibility of continuing investigation. And so I popped back by. The Nordstrom is very, very close to the airport in Tampa, and I popped back by on the hopes that he would be there. He was. And I said, Tom, I don't know if you remember me or not. Last time I saw you, you provided such extraordinary service to me. I told you were underemployed. Tom, if I could show you how to turn those well-developed skills of yours into a greater outcome for you and your family, would you be willing to listen to a 7-minute CD? Tom, would it be appropriate for me to call you back tomorrow and talk about it? I just taught you the foundation of step 6 and step 7. I caught someone doing something right. I then, at step 7, learned how to be scripted. I learned what the preliminary information device was that was designed to open the door to further conversation. What was just described was step 6 and the rudimentary pieces of step 7, growing a candidate list by catching people doing something right. That simple principle has served me so well over the course of the last 20 years that the result is that I have been one of the most prolific recruiters in this industry over that entire period of time. Step number 6, learn to grow your candidate list. This is a reflection of attraction, of you acting upon daily disciplines daily over time. As you become more, others in that candidate tree become available to you, partly because of a more well-developed skill at step 7, learning how to invite, but partly because you are becoming peers of people who once did not view you as a peer. Every time you grow, your peer set changes. You retain relationships you had previously and have access to a different quality of relationships with those whose past life experiences were greater than yours. It's a beautiful principle. As you grow, the candidate tree becomes more available to you, and part of that growth is what? It is learning how to invite. Learning how to invite, we transition to step 7. I stated in the Getting Started program that there would be no skill more important than learning how to invite. And so now if you find yourself at a point of impasse and you are turning to the Staying Started manual, if the behaviors described up until now have been developed and evidenced in your business for some period of time, you have a growing and a valid candidate list. And if you don't today, you'll have one tomorrow, because by now you've developed a skill. You've developed a skill of growing that candidate list in front of you. As we live our lives, we're in interaction with people. We find those doing something well. We compliment them. We affirm them. We add them to the candidate list. We remind ourselves where we found them. We determine what is the appropriate preliminary information device. Is it a significant first look pack that we deliver and re-pick up for warm market relationships, or if it's one of those bumps. If it's a bump, we're not going to see them again for some period of time. It's not that developed a relationship. There's a first look CD, one way or the other. They both work equally well based on the quality of that relationship. Now you see, it's just all about learning how to invite. If the candidates on that candidate tree are not finding their way into your business, then there should be a light flashing in your head. I don't know how to invite. I don't know how to invite. I don't know how to invite. Let me ask you this. If we invite using a properly constructed script, for a candidate, if we invite a candidate to listen to a CD and the candidate does not listen to it, what are they telling us? What are they saying? Most frequently, the response will be, well, they're saying they're not interested. No, they're not. They don't know if they're interested. They didn't listen to the CD. They're saying you don't know how to invite. You didn't make it personal for me. See, what are the components of a proper invitation? Think back to the invitation CD. It is to affirm. Nathan, I thank you so much for being here. I appreciate the work you do. You're very good at this. I've been at this for years and years and years. The quality of your work is outstanding. Nathan, if I can show you how to turn those well-developed skills and your positive personal attributes into a greater outcome for you and your family, are you willing to listen to a 7-minute CD? What were the components, folks? First, I was observant. I'm paying attention. As a result of paying attention, I can observe people doing something well, and I can positively affirm. And I am scripted. At step number 7, you're taught how to be scripted. Remember back in Getting Started, I described the fact that I was uncomfortable with scripts because that meant that it was artificial. No. It means that I'm prepared. Are you prepared? Are you? Now, here's the litmus test. At step number 7, if you want to become successful, really, really successful, then I'll put a further emphasis on mastering the art of inviting. If you want to become successful, then accept this assignment from me. Get a handheld recording device. With the handheld recording device, look at your candidate list and invite. Now, I was at a regional presentation just a couple of days ago, and I utilized a script, and I picked a person on the front row. And his name happened to be Billy. I said, Billy, your eyes have not left me while you've been here. You've taken copious notes. I've seen the way that you've interacted with your wife while you're here, and I can see how very important she is to you. I see the way that you dress. I see the way that you act. It is obvious to me, Billy, that you have many of the attributes that are required for success in our business. If I can show you how to turn those attributes into a greater outcome for you and your family, who you clearly love so much, are you willing to take the following action? And he said, of course. And then I asked, and by the way, Billy, based upon your response, can I call you tomorrow at 8 o'clock so we can talk about this? Of course. And then I asked the crowd, what do you think, folks? Could you do that? And the crowd in unison, they nodded their head yes. And would it be easier? Would it be hard? And they all said yes. I said, okay, do it. Turn right now and do the same thing to the person beside you. And suddenly that which sounded easy became hard. Why? What was the difference? The difference is, remember, Cicero stated it so clearly, the skill to do comes from the doing. Why was it easy for me? And why did they all freeze? They said, it's easy. Sure, I could do that. Do it then. Do it right now. Do it to the person on your right, and the person on your left, the one behind you, the one in front of you. Suddenly, frozen in their tracks with what? Fear. Why? Because they hadn't done it. That was the difference. Cicero said the skill to do comes from the doing. Why was that easy for me? Because I've done it and done it and done it and done it and done it. I want you all to imagine for a moment that you walk outside, and there is some fairly hard soil, but there's not concrete on it, and there's a shovel lying there. If you picked up that shovel and started to dig, how long would it take until you had a blister on your hand? For me, not long. My hand has not felt a shovel for some time. I would have blisters right away. But what about the workman who digs a ditch day after day after day after day? Does he have blisters? No. No, he has no blisters. He has calluses. He's done the work. He's done the work. He's done the work. He felt the pain long, long ago and has calluses where you don't yet have blisters. Why could I so easily invite the person on the front row, the third row, the fifth row? Why could I so easily invite the person that I met at Nordstrom's? Why could I so easily invite the person that I met at the Ford store? And why could I so easily invite the person that I met at the Jaguar store? It's because I've done it again and again and again. The skill to do, said Cicero so wisely, the skill to do comes from the doing. Ask yourself this question. Have you been doing enough to develop the skill? And my response is, if you've turned to this Staying Started manual for corrective action, the answer is no. The answer is clear and it's obvious, and we know it in advance. The answer is no. Get a handheld recording device. Consult your candidate list. Consult your scripts. Invite. And then listen. You will immediately discover why it is that your candidate's not taking the requested action. It will not be hard for you to figure out why your candidate's not taking the requested action. What does this take? Willingness. That's all. Doesn't take talent. Doesn't take skill. This is the way to develop the skill. It takes only willingness. Are you willing to do that which is required to develop an inviting skill? If you are willing to do that which is required to develop an inviting skill and further work on that skill and work on it and work on it until you finally have mastery. I will tell you what Nathan told me so many years ago. That is the way to get the key in the lock to success. There will be no skill development which will be more important, more critical, more crucial. And when you embrace that fully and totally and absolutely, that is when it will become an emphasis point for you with all those people in your group. And suddenly it will not be a one-man band. Suddenly there will be an organization with people developing that skill, and your business will begin to take on a life of its own. That's step 7 in Staying Started.